Okay, this is day 23 of 27 on walking the Hexatetraglyph. We've been on a pilgrimage, a rite of passage, across this oracle board sitting here in front of me. If you're unfamiliar with it, I suggest going back and watching the first video in this series. I cover a lot of the basics there. In short, we start from the center position of this board and we walk across it following 6 branching pathways. So you start in the center, but you end up at one of 64 endpoints. Each of the endpoints is a hexagram of the I Ching. Each day we work with astrology to come up with a topic so that we can write in our personal journal. That could be a question or kind of a theme. And then we draw 3 tarot cards to help answer that question. We do that for the first 26 days. 26 times 3 is 78, so that means we use every card in the tarot deck. Then on the 27th day, we reach an endpoint and we consult the I Ching. That summarizes the whole journey. So this way we work with all the tarot cards. We have an opportunity to work with all 12 zodiac signs and the 7 classical planets. 27 days is tied to the zodiac also because it takes the moon 27.3 days to travel through the zodiac. And so that's how you end up getting in the opportunity to work with all the signs. At least it's possible. So this really kind of unifies 3 esoteric systems, but it doesn't force them to correspond or to, never do they have to work together. They kind of run side by side. They're more like harmonized. So if that sounds interesting to you, I do recommend you go back and kind of look through the series. You can either follow exactly how I play, or you can just kind of use what I'm doing as an example and just play alongside. I do kind of call it playing. It's like a game. The process is a lot like a game, but it's more about doing soul work, shadow work, individuation. It's very psychological. So that's how it differs from a game. There's no competition here. It's not really so much about entertainment, but it's more about, self-reflection and getting to know oneself. So we're getting close to being finished with this journey. I do feel like I've gotten a lot out of it. Even though I'm close to the end, I feel like I still have a lot more to go. Because once I reach a hexagram, I'm going to take that very seriously. I don't speak Chinese. I was raised in the West. All of this movement to get to that hexagram is kind of to prepare me. It's like a ritual. It is it's a ceremonial kind of system where you prepare yourself and almost purify yourself so that when you do reach the oracle of the I Ching, you're in the right headspace for it. Like you've been on a pilgrimage to see a wise sage. And because I'm not 100% familiar with that esoteric system of the I Ching, I want to really dive in and try to understand the hexagram that I get. I want to try to understand the historical context of it, the myths and the legends surrounding it, the alchemical nature of it. I really want to understand the trigrams and how they fit together. Just anything that I can glean from doing study, I want to do that. And I also want to use my intuition. So I'm going to give that final day a lot of respect, I'm going to ponder on it for quite some time. And I do recommend that for others as well. The layout of this hexatetraglyph is quite unique. It's the way it orders the hexagrams. I feel like it's kind of special. I knew that when I discovered these pathways, that it was worth using in some way to create a system like this. I was rearranging the hexagrams in so many different ways, and when I realized that you could lay the 64 of them out in this natural order, I knew that there's something healing about that mandala right there. There's something that could be used for this kind of work. So it's been a great labor of love. If you're interested in purchasing one of these, I do sell them on Etsy. I'll also just give you one for free as far as just like a PDF you can print on your own. This is 12 inches by 12 inches. So I do this with a pen plotting machine. But if you want to print it smaller, like on your home printer, that's fine. It'll still do the job. Just contact me and I'll be happy to share. I want everyone to participate, you know. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to go ahead and draw two planets and then categorize one as yin and one as yang based on their current astrological positions and just kind of how I intuit what they represent. Okay, and it's the moon and Saturn. So I drew Saturn 2 times in a row, 2 days in a row. Let's see, the moon today is in Sagittarius, and Saturn is still in Aries. So I'm going to put the moon on the left. On this board, the left side is yin, and the bottom side is yin, and the right and upper sides are yang. And that's how you know how the hexagrams are laid out. When you travel down or left, you're moving yin. Up or right, you're moving yang. So we have moved all the way down the first pathway. Our first line of our hexagram is going to be yin for that reason. Then we moved left, so our second line will be yin. Then we moved up, so our third line will be yang. And that gives us, so we are going to have our lower or inner trigram. It's going to be mountain. We do know that much so far. And so now we've been on this fourth pathway, and now we're on position W today. So I'm going to put the moon on the left W and Saturn on the right W. And we kind of have this tension between these planets where we get to decide which one do we want to work with. And yes, they call the moon a planet in astrology if you're not aware. Yeah, it's an old term. They call the sun a planet as well. All right, so I think I'm going to work with the moon. I haven't worked with the moon for a while, and I haven't worked with Sagittarius yet. So that's interesting. Another yin choice. So it's been quite a yin-dominated journey. And this pathway 4 is going to be it's going to be completed on the yin side, we can see. All right, because all of my cards here on the bottom left are yin cards. We're going to calculate those up. All right, so the moon in Sagittarius. So Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. In fact, since we haven't worked with it, let's grab this book here, Astrology by Carol Taylor, so I can get my mind working a little and just maybe grab some key words about Sagittarius. I like this book. It's good for grabbing keywords out of it. And it shows up nicely. I learned about this lady, Carol Taylor, on the Astrology podcast with Chris Brennan. She's actually very knowledgeable and likable. That's a good episode. She may have been on there more than once, but yeah, she's someone you can learn a lot from. So it's positive, mutable, fire, Jupiter, the hips and thighs. Bigger is better. The centaur. Honesty, communication, search for meaning, broadening the mind. The archer. I'm going to take a look at the moon here. There's the moon. And we're going to look up Sagittarius. You need room to move and travel around, both physically and emotionally. The best nurturing is a feeling of inner freedom. I think about building bridges. No. Well, sort of, but I think more of like expanding horizons. I think maybe I just said that even when I was reading, but I like that. Expanding horizons. And with the moon, I think of instincts which are tied to emotions. So I would like to expand my emotional horizons. I would like to expand my interests. I would like to be able to kind of go out into the world and find some different things that I can draw on. So yeah, I think just opening, broadening, widening my lens of what I'm seeing in the world, expanding my horizons, especially with learning and even having new emotional experiences. Like maybe kind of opening my heart to um, different ideas that affect me emotionally. And I'm not talking about becoming a hippie. I guess I don't know what I'm talking about here, but that's not exactly what I'm saying. It's just I would like to have more influences and be open to learning from different teachers that might open my heart and make me more receptive. Okay, so if you want to pause and take a minute to think about what your topic for the day is and write in your journal, that's fine. But I think I have my idea for my journal topic. I write later. I don't do it while I'm on film here. It just kind of throws me off too much. But I'm going to draw 3 cards and see if I can get some clarity on this. Now, I'm going to show you how many cards I've already drawn in this process. We've already gone through a big stack. So if you've been following along with me up to this point, good job. I'm proud of you. Tell me, does it feel like a rite of passage to you? Do you feel like this is sort of an initiation of some sort, an inner initiation? As I've mentioned before, I'm not trying to start any sort of organization or religion, not like that, but and I've also worked with these cards. But as what I mean is it helps you cross over into a new level of maturity, a higher level of consciousness, a greater awareness of the self, of the totality of the self. Are you getting that sort of experience out of this? I'd love to hear feedback about that. And with that, I will quit stalling. I always get a little nervous when I'm going to draw the cards because I'm like, will these apply? Or am I going to get something that's completely in opposition to what I'm asking? But so far, it's been amazing how much synchronicity there has been throughout the whole process. So the Fool. Broadening horizons, okay? Now that gave me actual chill bumps on my arm. What can I even say? I mean, what can I even say? Strength. Oh, we're coming in here with some power cards. Okay. And the Lovers. I think this might be the first time I had all major arcana. 3 major arcana. Now, I've thought about kind of modifying the rules of gameplay so that if you had a situation like this where you have 3 major arcana or something, maybe it could shift your movement on the board some way. If you want to, it would be like an optional rule. But if you wanted a game that has a little more unpredictability in it, a little bit more chance or synchronicity, there is an opportunity to, you see a situation like this. It could cause a change on the board where suddenly you're heading a different direction, or I don't know. I mean, I've thought about a lot of different, it's not really a good time to talk about that, but I'm throwing it out there. If it seems interesting to you, let me know. Uh, Jupiter. Jupiter is in the house. I don't know if any of these cards, like this is Leo and Virgo, right? I think the lovers are Gemini. And what is the Fool? It's an air card. What is it? Is it Sagittarius? Oh boy. I'm sorry, but I'll put it on the screen because I can't think. You know, the strength card they say is Leo, but obviously the Virgin is there. But how did Jupiter show up? How did Sagittarius really show up here? This is just huge. Like this is too much energy to even interpret, in my opinion. You know, I asked for an expansion. Look at all the sun over here. Okay, so you have the wandering, wide open fool with nothing but his conscience to guide him. Embrace that, right? Like the baby just being born into the world and saying, I don't even see anything to be afraid of. There's nothing to be afraid of. I'm one with everything else. It's all connected. And just having that feeling, right? It's the beginning of the path of individuation. And it's also the end, because when we come into this world, we're not differentiated from anything else. And when we go out, we're not differentiated any longer either. It's the full circle. It's the snake eating its own tail. The lion, it reminds me of the fairy tale Iron John. If you know who Robert Bly was, Robert Bly told that story and wrote a book about Iron John and the wild man that that has to be freed. You know, we have to find our instincts, and that's also maybe somewhat with this lunar aspect. You know, finding those instincts, finding our. You know, I was struggling with Leo when we first started this process, and now I see the lion as the big heart, and I've seen it that way ever since. And I love that. You know, my German Shepherd is the sweetest dog. I know I talk about it a lot, but she's pure muscle, and she's incredible. The way she can run and jump and everything she does, it just blows my mind. But then I have this little poodle that's 8 pounds, and he bites her in the face. I mean, she could just bite him in half, you know. But he's intimidated by her because, you know, she's big and strong and wild and young, and he's just like, get off me, and he'll just reach over and bite her in the face, and she just allows it, you know. He's the alpha. It's very interesting to watch their relationship. She loves him to death. She'd protect him. And he stands up for himself and he says, back off, and she respects it. And it's all just natural to him, you know. There is a lot we can learn from the animals, and we are attached to that animal body. You know, you see the spirit and you see the physical there. And I think it's wonderful that we have that. I think something about that does lead to an adventure. And maybe it kind of ties into this dog over here too, right? There's, in each one of these images, you kind of do see like the pairs together, right? And a lot of the older lovers cards, you'll see a third. Something sort of Freudian there with the mother possibly. But you do see the companionship. The Garden of Eden is enclosed. It's not really expansive, but the story does tell of leaving that garden. And so does the Fool. There's definitely some images of, well, even the Fool kind of matches with the Lovers in that way. There's definitely some storyline of leaving the comfort zone here and doing so in a very trusting way. Finding one's own helpers, the conscience, the wild and free instincts, and maybe the anima and the animus. The inner guide. It's a big spread. I think what I'll do is grab a book here. Let's see if we can pull some stuff up. I think I'm a little overwhelmed with this one, but it's worth taking a look, right? Like the foolhardy third brother in fairy tales who rushes in where angels feared to tread, and by doing so wins the hand of the princess in her kingdom, the fool's spontaneous approach to life combines wisdom, madness, and folly. When he mixes these ingredients in the right proportions, the results are miraculous. But when the mixture curdles, everything can end up in a sticky mess. At these times, the fools can look pretty foolish, which, being a fool, he has the good sense not to mind. A symbol of Promethean fire, the archetypal fool personifies the transforming power which created civilization and which can also destroy it. His potential for creation and destruction, for order and anarchy, is reflected in the way he is presented in the old Marseille tarot. He is pictured walking on his own way, free of all encumbrances of society, without even a path to guide him, yet he wears the conventional dress of the court jester, indicating that he holds an accepted place within the ruling order. I think maybe, it's about not taking oneself too seriously. Waite's fool personifies the redemptive power of simplicity plus faith. Yes, faith. And like all fools, he has been touched by the hand of God. All right, let's... Unfortunately, I couldn't find what I wanted to in here, but that's okay. Let's look up strength. 18. When human consciousness recognizes and accepts its untamed primitive nature, it not only frees itself from the instinct's autonomous power, but liberates and transforms the instinctual side as well. If the lion is hungry, perhaps the lady will feed him, for she knows that if she does not give the beast appropriate food, he will swallow her up, body and soul. Psychologically, this could mean that the hero's eros side, his capacity for relatedness, would be obliterated. Let's take a look at the lovers. Plato rightly called eros the desire and pursuit of the whole. But with any archetype, to live out this instinctual force on the outside without assimilating its meaning can result in imbalance. For example, the lover archetype, if experienced solely as an external reality, might result in Don Juanism. In such a case, the young lover seeks completion and wholeness exclusively via a never-ending series of liaisons, none of which bring him closer to the anima within, through whom alone the self-knowledge and stability he seeks can be realized. So having that mature inner feminine energy can improve my other relationships. When you have your own internal source of love, when you know the various components of your own psyche and self, at that point you actually can be a good partner and elevate what being a partner really can mean. You can broaden your horizons. This is definitely a lot of images to take in. Jupiter tends to work that way. I'm grateful for it. It's fascinating. I think that's about all I can cover for today. So we're going to call that good enough. I chose the yin planet again today, so bottom left corner. If I would have chosen any cards that were yang, they would have been up here in the top right corner. But I didn't choose any yang cards this time, so, or yang planets. It was all yin. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 cards that we're going to just discard now. We're done with those. And now we know that our fifth pathway will be right here. We'll be on letter X tomorrow. Letter X. Getting very close. Tomorrow will be day 24. Then 25 and 26 we'll be out of tarot cards. You can see we're getting close to being out. Yep, we have 9 cards left. 3, 6, 9, depending on which way we move. But we will have one of these 4 hexagrams when we finish. All right, that's going to wrap it up for today. Thanks for joining me. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments. And if you are enjoying, please give me a thumbs up. And with that, take care. Have a good night.